My name is Emily Carter, and if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have told you that love was the only thing worth living and dying for. Now, sitting in our penthouse overlooking the Hudson River sparkling under New York's nightlights, I only give a sad, quiet smile. Love isn't something worth dying for. It's something worth living on for, no matter how much it hurts. I met Daniel Brooks for the first time on an autumn afternoon in the Boston University campus. The maple leaves blazed red like fire. He was wearing a gray hoodie, holding a Starbucks coffee cup, standing and laughing with a group of friends. I was rushing to my interior design class when I collided with him. Coffee splashed everywhere, soaking my shirt. He apologized profusely, then took off his hoodie and draped it over my shoulders. The scent of pine and coffee mingled together. That was his smell, the one I would recognize even in my dreams years later. We started with study groups, then afternoon coffees, then all-nighters in the library. Daniel was always talking about his dreams, building his own tech company, lifting his family out of the rough neighborhood in Queens, proving to his father who had abandoned him and his mother that he wasn't a failure. I listened, completely captivated. I loved the way he looked at the future as though it was already within his grasp. 7 years? We loved each other through 7 long, drawn-out years. I graduated and began working as a freelance interior designer in New York. Daniel jumped from job to job, from one startup to another, always chasing the next funding round, the next bigger dream. Every time he failed, he would hold me tightly and whisper, "Just a few more years, Em. When my career is stable, I'll get down on one knee and propose to you in front of the whole world." I believed him. I turned down a full-time offer from a prestigious design firm in San Francisco just to stay in New York, close to him. I lived in a tiny apartment in Brooklyn, working myself to exhaustion to make ends meet, while Daniel was still on his way to success. Then one drizzly April morning, I opened the mailbox and found a pristine white wedding invitation. Groom, Daniel Brooks. Bride, Sophia Williams. I read it over and over, my hands trembling until the card slipped to the floor. Sophia, the only daughter of the Williams Group, a massive real estate conglomerate. I remembered Daniel mentioning her once, "Just a business acquaintance," he had said. I went to see him. His new apartment in the Upper East Side was far more luxurious than the one we used to dream of sharing. He opened the door, looked at me with eyes that had lost their old light. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. He was silent for a very long time. Then he said only one sentence. "I'm sorry. I had no other choice. No embrace, no explanation, not a single tear." I turned and walked away, my tears mixing with the New York rain. After that day, I cut everything off. Phone number, social media, mutual friends, all of it. I sold everything I owned. bought a one-way ticket to Chicago. I thought if I left New York far behind, I could forget him. Chicago was freezing, the wind off Lake Michigan slicing like knives. I rented a small studio in Lincoln Park and started from zero again. By day, I worked as a designer for a mid-sized firm. By night, I cried until I was drained. I learned to live alone, to stop expecting anyone to be there when I was weak. 3 years passed. I was 32, my career finally stabilizing, but my heart remained frozen. Then my father called. His voice trembled. The family business, a small chain of interior furnishing stores in New Jersey, was on the brink of bankruptcy because of the pandemic and mounting debt. He proposed a solution: an arranged marriage with Alexander Reed. Alex, the son of Reed Enterprises, our family's longtime partner going back to my grandfather's time. I had met Alex once, at a charity gala 2 years earlier. He was tall, with short black hair and steel-gray eyes that seemed cold. He spoke little, only nodded in greeting, then turned away. I remember thinking, this man definitely doesn't know what love is. Our first official meeting took place at an upscale French restaurant on the Upper East Side. Alex wore a black suit, no smile. He looked straight into my eyes. If you don't love me, that's fine. I only need a stable marriage, one that benefits both families. You'll have complete freedom. Work, travel, live however you want. I won't force anything. I looked at him, wondering why a man as wealthy as him would settle for a loveless marriage. But I was too exhausted to ask. I nodded. The wedding was quiet, attended only by immediate family and a few close business associates. I wore a simple white dress, no flowers, no bouquet toss. When the officiant asked, "Do you take this woman?" Alex answered briefly, "I do." His voice was calm, as if signing a contract. After the ceremony, we moved into his penthouse in Tribeca. The apartment was vast, modern, all glass and metal. I had my own bedroom, my own workspace. Alex left early for work and came home late. We ate dinner together 2 or 3 times a week, talking about business, the weather, new projects. Nothing more, but little by little, I began to notice the small things. He remembered my seafood allergy, so every meal out was free of shrimp or crab. He set the coffee machine to brew automatically at 6:45 a.m. because he knew I started work early. One night I stayed up late finishing a major client design, fell asleep at my desk. The next morning I woke up in bed, blanket tucked around me, a glass of warm water and cold medicine on the nightstand. I always catch a cold when I pull all-nighters. One bitterly cold winter night, I came down with a high fever, delirious. I woke in the middle of the night to find Alex sitting in the armchair beside the bed, still in his suit, eyes closed but his hand gently holding mine. He slept like that all night. The next morning he called his private doctor, then cooked oatmeal porridge for me himself. For the first time, I looked at him and thought, this man, maybe he isn't as cold as I thought. Then came the fateful business gala. The ballroom at the Plaza Hotel was magnificent crystal chandeliers, soft violin music. I walked in on Alex's arm, wearing a sea green evening gown that hugged my figure. Alex was in a black tuxedo, his hand resting lightly on my waist, a polite gesture that still made me tremble slightly. And then I saw him, Daniel, standing among a group of executives, laughing confidently, in a perfectly tailored gray suit. He was thinner than before, but still devastatingly handsome. When our eyes met, he froze, his champagne glass nearly slipping from his fingers. Alex noticed immediately. He squeezed my hand gently and whispered, "Are you okay?" I nodded, but my heart was pounding wildly. Throughout the evening, Daniel tried to approach. He shook Alex's hand, congratulated us on our happy marriage. His voice trembled when he looked at me. "Congratulations, Emily." I gave only a faint smile. "Thank you." After the event, Daniel texted me he still had my old number. "Can we meet?" "Just 5 minutes." I agreed, not because I still had feelings, but because I needed closure. We met at a small bar near Central Park. Daniel sat across from me, eyes red. He told me everything. That year, his family's software startup was on the verge of collapse. His father, who had always looked down on him, forced him to marry Sophia to secure investment from the Williams Group. If he refused, the company would fold, and his mother, who was already seriously ill, would have no money for treatment. He chose silence, believing that if I hated him, I would move on faster. "I was wrong," he said, his voice cracking. "I never forgot you. Not a single day." I looked at him, and the old pain was gone. Only regret remained for the girl who once believed in him completely. "I forgave you a long time ago," I said. "But I'm not your Emily anymore." I stood up and left. When I glanced back one last time, Daniel was still sitting there, head bowed, tears falling into his glass. Back home, I asked Alex, "Do you know Daniel?" He looked at me for a very long time. Then he nodded, and he told me. Years earlier, when he learned Daniel's family was facing bankruptcy, Alex had quietly bought up the majority of shares through a shell company. He saved their business, saved hundreds of jobs, saved Daniel's mother from her life-threatening illness. He did it all without telling anyone, and he had known for a very long time that Daniel was the man I once loved so deeply. My voice shook as I asked, "Then why did you still marry me?" "You knew how much I once loved him." Alex looked out the window, where the city lights shimmered like falling stars. "Because I liked you before you even knew I existed," he said, his voice low and warm. "The first time I saw you at that charity gala, you were standing alone by the window, looking out at the Hudson. You smiled at someone on the phone, a real smile, not forced, At that moment I thought, if I could, I want to be the one who makes her smile like that every day. I stood frozen. Tears welled up. I didn't expect you to love me right away, he continued. I just wanted to be by your side, protect you, let you see that someone is willing to wait not for gain, but because you deserve to be loved. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around him. For the first time since our wedding, I initiated the embrace. He stiffened for a second, then pulled me close. The familiar scent of sandalwood, his scent enveloped me. Can we try again? From the beginning? I whispered against his chest. Alex bent down and pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead. Our first real kiss. Of course, he said. And this time, I won't make you wait. From then on, everything changed slowly, but surely. We started mornings brewing coffee together, evening walks hand in hand along the High Line. Alex learned to smile more. I learned to trust again. One day, he took me back to Boston, the place we once studied. Under the red maples, he knelt down and pulled out a simple yet elegant diamond ring. Emily Carter Reed, he said, eyes shining. This time it's not an arrangement, not for business. It's because I love you. Will you marry me truly again? I cried and nodded. Our second wedding took place at a small farm outside New York. Only close family and friends. I wore an ivory gown, not pure white like before, because I was no longer an innocent bride. Alex wore a gray suit, beaming as I walked toward him. And Daniel? He was invited as a courteous guest. He came alone, stood in a far corner, watching me with complicated eyes. When we exchanged rings, he clapped softly. No jealousy, no pain, just release. Afterward, he came to congratulate us. You deserve happiness, he said, and I'm glad you found it. I smiled, holding Alex's hand tighter. Thank you, and I hope you find your own happiness too. Daniel nodded, then turned and blended into the crowd. On our wedding night, Alex and I lay together, the window open to a sky full of stars. Do you have any regrets? He asked. I shook my head, pressing my face to his chest. No, because without those old wounds, I wouldn't realize how lucky I am to have you. He kissed me gentle, but deep. I love you, Emily. And for the first time in years, I answered without hesitation. I love you too, Alex. New York is still noisy, still cold, still full of unfinished stories. But in that penthouse, in the city that never sleeps, I finally found a place to belong, not because of empty promises, not because of arrangements, but because of a quiet, patient, sincere love that convinced me no matter how painful the past was, the future can still be beautiful, and the man I once loved is now just a guest at my wedding. A guest from the past who gently closed the door, allowing me to walk forward with the person I truly belong to. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to my story right up to the very last line. My name is Emily, and the story The Man I Once Loved Became a Guest at My Wedding is not just a romance with twists, plot turns, and a warm ending. It is my real journey, a journey from blindly trusting a promise, to heartbreak, to healing myself in solitude, and finally learning to open my heart again and realize that true love is rarely the loudest one. It's often the quietest. I'd like to share with you a few lessons that I had to pay for with tears and countless sleepless nights before I truly understood them. Don't wait too long for someone to be ready. If a person truly wants to be with you, they won't leave you counting the months and years in vague anticipation. Real love doesn't demand that you sacrifice yourself to the point of forgetting your own worth. Suffering is not the end. The wounds in your heart that seem impossible to heal can become the very place where a better, more genuine love finds its way in. Sometimes, being abandoned turns out to be the greatest gift life ever gives you. Don't judge someone too quickly based on their cold or quiet exterior. True love is usually shown through small, persistent actions, not through grand, flowery words. The person who quietly stays by your side, quietly protects you, quietly remembers every little habit of yours, that is the one worthy of your whole heart. Forgiveness does not mean going back. Forgiveness is for your own freedom to let go of the burden of resentment and move forward. I forgave Daniel long ago, but I didn't return to him. I chose to walk on with someone who truly deserved me. And finally, you deserve to be loved fully, not halfway, not when he's ready. You deserve someone who sees you as their entire world, not just a fallback option when everything else has failed. Thank you for walking with me through these emotional pages. If my story made you smile, brought tears to your eyes, or caused you to reflect even a little on your own love and life, then I am truly happy. If one day you find yourself waiting, hurting, or doubting yourself, please remember, some doors close only to open a more beautiful one, and the right person will never leave you standing in the hallway for too long. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. From Emily, the one who once loved the wrong way, heard enough, and has now found the right love.